The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. What an intro that was, by the way, Mark. You've been a busy boy behind the scenes. Absolutely fantastic. It's Monday night, everybody. Me and Mark are back asking the same thing we ask every Monday night. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The Premier League is back, and Newcastle United are back with a fucking bang as well. But just before I ask you the important question, Mark, I want to just ask you to do one thing for me. Keep it funky with your boy, will you please, mate? What's going on?
I'm not singing Usher. Usher. That is for definite.
Don't get me started on that bollocks. Unbelievable. I know we had a very different opinion about that, but good bloody crazy. I don't know if anybody saw, but Chris Brown is now the new anchor for Sky Sports. If anybody didn't see that, complete with dance moves and backing vocals as well, which much to Roy Keane's chagrin, which is a brilliant reaction if anyone wants to go and see that. But what's going on with you, Mark? How are we getting on?
Good, man. It's been a busy day. I've not been at work today, but I've been so much stuff on here, just editing and stuff, and getting the intro done. And I've got 5 shows lined up now that are preloaded to go. So I've been a busy boy today.
Absolutely. Well, just before we do get anywhere in terms of talking about what we normally talk about, we have to say a massive thank you. We've had an unbelievable day for new subscribers on the channel. I think we've had over 150 subscribers. It might possibly have had something to do with my serious Fred Durst style rant about a certain Liverpool manager with piano key teeth. But thank you so much to everybody who has clicked. You are more than welcome to hang around here a bit longer. And if you haven't clicked yet, as we all said before, smash that subscribe button. We're now over 4,700 subscribers.
4,750 now.
4,750. Mark is changing this all of the time. But we are live as well tonight, as we always are. Jump in the comments, guys. Let us know what's going on with you. We've already seen a few comments there. Les is in the house. Good to see you, Les. Good to see Roger as well. We've got Alex is in the house as well. Shez is in there. How we doing, Shez? He's loving the intro, mate. Absolutely, Shez. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Andrew DB is also in the house. We've got one there from Frank. Just finished watching the Man U game. Yeah, they look rubbish, Man U. And I think Wolves were robbed as well, 100%. Frank, I'm sure we'll have a little chat about that. Tommy's in the comments too. Loves the new intro, Mark, as well. A lot of love for the new intro. Absolutely class. We've got one from Kev as well. And obviously, Vincent is just talking about the guy we all want to talk about in a minute, which is Sandro Tonali. So let's get stuck in there, Mark. The first category we're covering, of course, is 5-star performance. High fives from the Magpies. The Premier League is back, as was said there at the start. There's been some cracking performances. Obviously, we saw Manchester City easily dust Burnley on Friday. What happened to Erling Haaland being shit and not having his goal-scoring boots? I really wonder what happened there. All these little shit houses that were saying that in pre-season. It didn't look like he was too worried about it on Friday night. But obviously, Newcastle, Mark, you got to say that they've really set the bar, haven't they, for the opening game of the Premier League? What a performance that was by the lads.
Yeah, look, it was. Yeah, it was. What a way to start the season for them. Honestly, it was an unbelievable scoreline. I think everybody had it close, whether it was a high-scoring draw or what have you. But second half, Newcastle were absolutely sensational and just really dominated. Didn't give Villa a sniff. Villa had their chances to get a couple of goals, but there were some awful misses from that point of view. But Newcastle were absolutely ruthless. They created so many good chances. The score could have been 9. It really could have been. And they've really set the bar. And like I say, just that ruthless. I was quoted John Cena to go with ruthless aggression and stuff. They were utterly brilliant. It was sort of a tight first half, although the game sort of went backwards and forwards and sort of more end to end. But second half performance was just otherworldly. I think it was just take a lesson in take your chances and you win games. It's an obvious thing to say, but Newcastle did exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said this, we had a couple of Villa fans in the comments. To be fair, I know there's this weird little rivalry in some people's eyes between Newcastle and Villa fans, but most Villa fans are bang on, to be fair. In the comments we had, they were 100% just saying they were blown away by an unbelievable side. They really were. And, to be fair, I said to them in the comments, that was Newcastle, at Eddie Howe's best, just the relentless press, not giving anybody time on the ball. But I wouldn't say worried, but I was very conscientious of how good Villa looked pre-season and the signings they made. And everybody was saying this would be a real tough game for us. Nobody expected us to go out Villa, at least of all Unai Emery and Villa. They were totally shell-shocked. And, I think everybody was bang at it. We'll talk a bit more about a certain Italian stallion, but everybody was bang at it. I mean, Isak looked electric. Joe Linton was back to his powerhouse best. Trippier, just class act, that back four, just brilliant. Everybody was bang at their game. And honestly, Mark, when Newcastle United are like that, I honestly think most teams in the world would struggle to do us at St James's Park, because when we're on that particular form, I think we could go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I don't think that game was a reflection of how bad Villa's season is going to be, because I still think Villa will have a good season. But to me, I just think Newcastle were that electric and that good. Even some of these pundits who kind of wrote us off a bit have just stood back and went, wow, hang on a minute. Maybe we're a little bit premature about that. Just before I get your rebuttal to that one, Mark, we've got a bit of a donation there.
Just about to say.
Well, yeah, don't worry, mate. I saw it. I know I go on a ramble, but massive thanks for that too, Rob. Really appreciate
Thank you, man.
Yeah, lovely donation. Yeah, top of the league, mate. 5 goals. Magnum's lost. Everton lost to the Nick Better weekends. We're so good. Doesn't matter who starts. Nobody wants to play us. Well said, mate. Well said. Yeah, Mark, can you add anything more to that, mate? I think that's probably a good summary as to how good we were at the weekend, really. Just that Villa couldn't lay a glove on us. I mean, Diaby looked good, I will say that. And there was a couple of times he exposed little pockets that maybe we need to keep an eye on. But generally, I just think we were so good that Villa had nothing for us, mate.
Yeah, look, there was, a couple of opportunities. Obviously, if Watkins scores, if Mings doesn't get injured, maybe that game turns out differently. But that second half performance, like I say, was just so good. I don't think that was going to end up in anything other than a Newcastle win. Emery got his tactics wrong, I think. It was watching some of the players almost give up as well with sort of 20 minutes to go. I guess for them is massively disappointing. But Newcastle were bang on it. You're right, that midfield trio. I genuinely didn't think Tonali would start. I didn't think he would throw him in. My only, I think I said last week was, I think he does if Sean's not fit. If Sean was fit, I think Sean probably starts that.
Yeah.
And what does that do? But they were the three of them in midfield were just brilliant. I thought Joe Linton really put himself about. He worked. He moved the ball well as well, which is a little unlike Joe Linton at times. But he found those little pockets, playing those little through balls. The through ball to Gordon early doors
for the finesse, wasn't it? Not the kind of thing you expect good for Joe. You expect more power, but it was a really finesse touch. I'm just laughing at that comment there from the Dirty Dozen. I call this midfield the muscle package. It sounds like some kind of star of the show at Chippendales, that Dirty Dozen. I think we're going to have some of them dodgy comments flying in a minute, mate. But
no.
I do love where you're going there. BT's in the house as well. Good to see you, BT. One there. Good to see you, and Ian Brownlee as well. I mean, you racing the button, is it? Good evening to you, BT. Yeah, but you're right, Mark. I just think that we saw different parts, I think, of how flexible and diverse that midfield can be. They never seem to stop moving. The three of them were just rotating all of the time. And I think when we signed Tonali, we were thinking, is Tonali going to be the 6 or is Bruno going to be the 6? And I think the truth of the matter is you're not going to pin any three of them down to a position. I think they're all going to be able to rotate in the 6, in the 8, almost even a 10, some of them. Do you know what I mean? In terms of where they're playing. And I think that's the beauty of having 3 brilliant footballers. I mean, I know it's only one game. I don't want to go too big on Tonali, but but we'll come on to him in a minute.
It's already got you winning the league.
Yeah, he's obviously getting PFA play with it. Yeah, clearly, mate. But we'll come on to Tonali more kind of individually in a minute. But I mean, the exciting part about that midfield, we talked about it in the preview as well in the lead up to the game, is we didn't think Tonali would even start. He has started. He showed us what he's capable of. We've still got Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock, who were two massive players for us last season, to come back into the fold, as well as the emergence of Anderson and Louis Miley in pre-season. I mean, that midfield area is so stacked for Newcastle. I know we do all of our rumour hazard videos now, and pretty much every time a rumour comes out, you and I check it. Not ITK, just rumours, as we always say. But when it comes to midfielder now, I mean, you just talk to each other over and go, nah, because why would we need any more midfielders when you've got a midfield stacked out like that?
Yeah, I think anybody like that, it only depends on what happens to the likes of Anderson, whether they do get allowed to go out on loan and get some first team football. And that's the only way I can see that happening, because other than that, you're sitting there with Miley, with Anderson, with the three that started, Willock to come back, Sean Longstaff. There's 7, 8 midfielders now for 3 positions. So I think that one's been and gone. So you'll probably see Conor Gallagher linked again, with obviously Caicedo coming to Chelsea. I'm sorry, before getting to anything else, 115 million for a defensive midfielder.
Not worth it.
Thank you.
Who's had one good season?
Ridiculous.
One good season. Not worth it at all. Especially when Sandro Tonali's 52 million. Jog on. No chance.
Anything like that. I don't think Declan Rice is worth 100 million. I don't think any defensive midfielder is worth that amount of money. No. But let Chelsea get on with it. They can pay 150 million if they want. That's a different story.
Maybe Xavi in his prime. But I've just seen a comment from Kev there, mate. It just leads on to something that you want to talk about in the game. Obviously, the game was brilliant from a Newcastle perspective. 5-1 could have been 9, as Mark says there. Brilliant, free flowing football. There was a bit of the game that flattened. Don't forget Hendrick. Sorry. How could I forget Jeff Hendrick of all things? You know, the one scouted by AC Milan, Jeff Hendrick. I bet he wish he got that play. The only time he's going,
the most bizarre thing in the world, isn't it?
The only time Jeff Hendrick's going to Milan is if he's going for a spaghetti eating contest or something like that these days. But I think the bit of the game that was probably the sad part of the game, or the dark part of the game, was the injury to Tyrone Mings, as Kev's saying there in the comments. You know, that hopes he gets fit soon. Classed by the Toon fans, getting a round of applause. It really was. But you know, Tyrone Mings went down for a long time. It was a challenge with Isak. It was nothing malicious. Isak just kind of leaned into him. It was one of them things. His legs were a bit tangled. You know, he's obviously had some serious injury to his knee ligament. And Tyrone's been tweeting and obviously giving us thanks. But you wanted to single out one of the Newcastle players, Mark, just for how good he was in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a strange incident because it was so innocuous, and it did. And I mean, I knew Newcastle fans booed at first, but I think there was a combination of booing, possibly because he was down, and it was a thought of, is he trying to pull this one back?
Time wasting.
I also think Emi Martinez was trying to signal to the linesman that he thought Isak had elbowed him, and he hadn't. It was shoulder to shoulder, absolutely. I mean, that was, but. Yeah, I mean, the more it went on, the more he just went, this is a bad one, because he was thumping the ground in absolute agony.
He looked in absolute agony. He was crying his eyes out. Bless him, the poor bloke.
But the amount of time it took, the medical staff got on really, really quickly. But the amount of time it took for the stretcher to get across the field was ridiculous. And Trippier, I mean, was doing his nut. And to single him out for him, I mean, when you're looking at a fellow professional who's struggling with a serious injury, he was doing one to get them across and to treat him, and you got to get him seen. So big props to Trippier for that, and that just shows the mentality of the guy. That it shows the leadership qualities and the very, very special guy that he is. Because I didn't see any Villa players doing that. And do you know what I mean? When you look at it and you go, it's taken Kieran Trippier, who's playing for the opposition, to do something like that. And it's a special kind of person there.
I think in the defense of the Villa players, it was a mixed bag of kind of, what you would call also players. They're not leaders. Trippier's a leader. Trippier to me, I think will make a brilliant manager. You just see some players that go, he'll be a good coach, he'll be a good manager. And I think Trippier will definitely be that guy. I really believe that. Because he has that mentality about him, that elite mentality about him in terms of when everyone's losing their head, he's calm in the moment. Even with Martinez's ridiculous challenge on Miggy that we'll talk about in a minute. Even when we're going off at half time and he was talking to the referees, I can't remember who it came over. Somebody came over. It possibly might have been Joe Linton or Bruno or somebody like that. And he basically, it was Botman. Sorry, it was Botman came over and he was giving the ref some serious shit because he got a yellow card, I think, after the incident for mouthing off. And Botman was coming over to give it to the ref, and Trippier basically said to Botman, fuck off, and shoved him away. And that's the leadership side of Trippier, the captain side of him. Going, no, you get out of here. You're going to get yourself in trouble. And I think, like you say, just a fellow professional was down in England, colleague was down, and he did the right thing there, and fair play to him. And yeah, exactly there, Kev. He was looking after his England teammate. But I think it would have been anybody. I think if we've been playing Accrington Stanley, who are they, as you all say? I think Trippier would have done the same thing. To be fair, he's just a class act, isn't he?
The funny thing is, if you flip the script and it was the other way around, it's probably given his attitude towards people and towards it. It probably would be Tyrone Mings doing it the other way around.
Mings would have done the same thing.
Just
yeah,
the irony that it's him that's in trouble. Yeah. So,
but
we wish him well because.
Yeah, definitely. It's a horrendous injury, and it's so unlucky for the lad. First, game of the season. What a shame. What a shame. Just hopefully he comes back fitter and strong because he does seem like a really sound kid and a good character. I was just saying, ironically, if you remember the stupid fight between Bowyer and Dyer, Gareth Barry was there pulling them apart when he probably more than any Newcastle players. So there has been moments like that in this fixture over the years. But yeah, going back to the game. The bit about Martinez, we differed on our opinion on this. I think you had a slide just to pull up about this, mate. Just to we'll get some of the guys' opinions on this. Now, when this happened in real time, I was screaming at the TV saying he's got to go off. You got to send him off. Now Martinez has previous for this. If you remember, I think he did this at Villa Park last season. He wiped out Callum Wilson in a similar way, I think, and he got away with that one as well. Which is this one here. So this is where it kind of started from, where I suppose you've highlighted the players that are covering their mark, and I'll get your take on this in a minute, but Craig Hope had said this, and I agree with what Craig Hope was saying, that me personally, I think the ref bottled this. I think you set a really dangerous precedent that keepers just come out and rugby tackle guys to the ground miles out of the box. I know that Miggy might not score from there, so by the letter of the law, maybe it shouldn't be a red card. But as Craig Hope said, if a defender does that and the keeper's on the line, the defender probably gets the red card. So what's the difference between what Martinez is doing and what a defender would do?
The difference is where the ball's going. That top red line is the direction of the ball, and it's going towards the corner flag. By the time I got your point before, we were talking about it before we came on, but he's so far wide that by the time he gets to the ball to come back in, the other two defenders are across. So I can see exactly why it's not given and exactly why I sort of get Hope's argument. But if he's in the middle, where I think this is Ezri Konsa in the middle, and he gets taken out, it's a red card all day long, not a question. Exactly the comment there about Pope versus Liverpool. Granted, he handled the ball.
He did handle the ball, which is a big no-no.
Yeah. But I think there is a difference there. He's very lucky, and as you sort of mentioned, I think you've mentioned on sort of social media as well. He then took about 3 weeks to take the goal kick afterwards, didn't he? So
straight after getting a yellow card, I'd have sent them off after that.
I think
Bruno got a yellow for asking for a yellow.
Yeah.
So Martinez should have got a second yellow for taking 9-10 seconds to take a goal kick.
Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that they're booking players for asking for yellows. And so long as they are consistent now and they keep doing it, and I love the fact that players are getting booked for going to the referee out of turn. I absolutely love that if they're consistent with it. We'll come into the manager thing later on because I know we're going to talk about that in sort of out of tune. But yeah, Martinez could easily have been sent off, and we've seen time wasting. There was it Semedo tonight? Ain't Nuri got booked. I think it was the second time taking a throw, and he took far too long over. So I guess the referee probably bottled it, giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's the first one he'd taken any time over, but he took so long. He could have easily given him a second yellow straight away.
The ref was poor. I thought there was some bad tackles going on. Camera put a few bad ones on goal and got away with it. I think Cash took ages to get yellow card. I think some of the challenges he was putting in, I think he really let go of the game. The referee really struggled to get it back. I thought he was really poor.
Yeah, when you've got the entire ground, both home and away fans singing that you're not fit to referee, you're doing a bad job. And it wasn't particularly one direction. It was both sides. There were fouls going both ways that weren't given, and there were free kicks given for things that weren't fouls. So he had an absolute shocker. He was so poor. I mean, it makes no odds to the game either way, but you just don't want to see that. You just don't want anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sensible saying there. The Martinez stuck a finger up in Miggy's face after the foul. He is a bit crazy, though, isn't he, old Martinez? I think if you remember that penalty
Argentinian. I don't know how to describe it. Somebody's put something in the comments earlier on about him being an Argentinian back. I'll not go that far, but he's got that kind of mentality, hasn't he? He's he's a goalkeeper anyway, so he's a little bit off his nut. I mean, we're all slightly touched there, but he's as good a goalkeeper as he is. He can be a little bit of a liability for things like that, and he's definitely got away with one.
Definitely. I mean, before we talk about old Sandy baby, as a lot of people are waiting for us to talk about, got a special mention to Alexander Isak, who I described in the post match as the ghost that appears out of nowhere and haunts centre back's dreams, which I think is probably the best way to describe Alexander Isak, because he was fucking phenomenal at the weekend. He really was. And for that third goal, I've got no idea what Konza is trying to do. He's trying to stud roll the ball in his box with quite possibly, and I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic, right? Quite possibly, outside of Erling Haaland, the most dangerous centre forward in this league on your shoulder, and you're pissing around in the box. If I'm a Villa fan or I'm Emery, I'm going fucking mad at Konza in that dressing room when he comes off the pitch, because that kid is so dangerous. His movement is so good, and the finish as well, man. I mean, that's a World Cup winning goalkeeper he took the piss out of there. I mean, what
sublime. What on earth was Ezri Konsa doing? Honestly, you've one job at that point is to run it away from goal.
Yes,
I mean, he's going to be seeing Isak as much as was it Michael Keane?
It's James Tarkowski. Yeah.
James Tarkowski.
I think I said that in the post match.
Still having nightmares, and
the PFA might need to set up a helpline of defenders who have been tortured by Alexander Isak. Maybe call 1-800-Isak.
Yeah, the Southampton. Is it the Southampton left back from last season? We can throw in Fiorentina's right full back in pre-season, who he absolutely tortured for about 15 minutes when he moved out onto the left. And now Ezri Konsa and the rest of that Villa defence they'll be waking up in cold sweats going, thank God we haven't got to play him again for a while. Jesus, he's so good. Just
before we move on to the Italian styling, right? Alexander Isak, providing he stays fit, does he run Haaland close to the Golden Boot?
Ooh.
There's a question. Give us in the comment, guys. What do you think? Because I think he's 20 plus goals this season if he stays fit. In the Premier League, 20 plus goals.
I think if he stays fit for the whole season, he's 25 goals easy. But no, I think Haaland scores 40 again. So I don't think he'll run him close, but he'll be second in that list.
He'll be up there. I think he has to be, Mark. He's such a good player, and he's only going to get better. He's so young as well. You just think he's so good now. Like, so just look at that comment there from Arades. I hope he does. You win 300, Nick, if he does. Go on, mate. I love the fact you betted that. Unbelievable, mate. What's it? Bring in De Bruyne, and then he will be. We don't need De Bruyne, Alex. We've got Louis Miley off the bench, mate. Look the way he passes. We don't need De Bruyne, mate. Honestly,
to be honest, De Bruyne
Louis Miley be twice a player.
De Bruyne. I don't, that could just on his subject. I know we get totally off topic. What was City doing playing him? I know it's a totally separate thing, but that just felt ridiculous to me. But yeah, I think easily Isak gets 25 goals. If you continue to make the number of chances that you make, and if you look at the stats for the weekend, 17 shots, 9 of those were big chances, which means there was an expectation of a goal. 9.
That's
you don't see that. If you can continue to do that, Isak will score 20 easily. 25 easily, sorry.
25 is dirty, doesn't say. How scary is that? As a prospect, Kev saying, if Scandinavia was a country, they'd have Haaland and Isak up front. That's fucking scary, isn't it? Maybe they should have like a friendly, a rest of the world friendly, just have Scandinavia.
Throw a front 3, those 2 plus Zlatan.
And Odegaard. And
Odegaard.
Jesus, mate, there's some good players coming out there, isn't there? Speaking of good players, segue. Let's jump straight into arguably the star of the show at the weekend. None of us expected him to play. He did play, Sandro Tonali. It didn't take him very long at all to settle into the Premier League when he did this on 6 minutes after a beautiful cross by Anthony Gordon, who was fantastic, by the way. It's got to be said. Gordon looked sharp as a Mach 3 on Christmas Day, as I said. But that finish by Tonali, Mark, it was a bit of his game that we weren't really expecting. That run into the box, that perfectly timed run, and then the finish. You were thinking, hang on a minute, this guy is almost doing exactly what Bruno Guimaraes did when we thought, we're signing this great defensive midfielder who can break up the play and spray it. And then all of a sudden we're like, hang on a minute, he can score goals. And Sandro Tonali is doing exactly the same thing. What a start to his Newcastle career, Mark. He was everywhere at the weekend.
Yeah. Just brilliant. He didn't put a foot wrong the entire game, or the entire time he was on the field. He did not put a foot wrong. I think there was a worry from some. I think probably me included, that he might take a little bit of time to adapt to the pace of the Premier League. I definitely thought after the summer series game against Villa, funnily enough, where he just looked like he wasn't up to speed. I think he's just, honestly, I now look at it and go, He's just, exactly. He's just lulling people into a false sense of security. He was brilliant. He barely gave the ball away. I think looking at his stats, I think he was 89% passing completion.
Headers as well. How many headers did he win? Headers
good in the air. I mean, they've got it down as one aerial duel, 1 out of 1.
Didn't seem that way. I think he won a lot more than that.
I think he did more. I don't know whether it was aerial challenges, he just puts people off, but he definitely looked like he got a lot more than that. That doesn't look right to me. But he was just involved. He sort of helped break up play. He found those little bits of space where other players weren't. He would just find a pocket where sort of Villa midfielders maybe started to overload. He'd just sit and go, do you know what? No, I'm going to just sit. I'll wait. And then the ball comes to him, and all of a sudden things open up again. And his passing, he hit a pass in the first half from nigh on the right touchline over to the left-hand side that I think was for Joe Linton. I can't remember who the player was now. And I sat there and just went, holy crap.
Yeah, wow.
To have hit it, it was one of those passes you just look at and go, yeah, that's special. There's not many players can do something like that, and he was just, I mean, I can't run out of. I'm going to run out of words to kind of say about him. He was just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. He was sensational. I mean, like you say, it's to see a player come in and just look like he's been in this league for ages. I mean, Bruno took longer to settle than that. And you look at it and you think, wow. I mean, obviously, I've never seen a game, I think I said in the post-match, where so many debutants just look like, he never smiles. You don't need to smile when you're that good. I've never seen a game where so many debutants have been on a score sheet in one game. It's probably going to be a pub quiz question in a few years to come. But with somebody like Harvey Barnes, who was great as well, by the way, when he come on, great assist for Wilson, great finish, and just shows you what he's all about as well. That's a real headache for Eddie Howe, who's going to start on that left-hand side against Manchester City. But with Harvey Barnes, you almost expect it because he's Premier League proven. He's been here for the last 5 or 6 seasons or whatever. You don't expect him to take time to get up to speed with football. Yes, you expect him to kind of understand how his teammates play, but the Premier League, you'd say Harvey Barnes He's a bit of a Premier League veteran, so to speak. He knows what he's doing. With Tonali, it's a new league, all the stuff. The Italian league's a slower pace. He's not going to have much time in the ball. We're all going to worry about him. And he was the one who took it to a real combative midfield, like with John McGinn, who is always a new face and always keeps running and everything else. I mean, Villa were missing some big players. They were missing Ramsey, who's a huge player for them. They were missing Buendia as well. So they were missing some creative elements. But I think even if them two had been there, Mark, I think we would have ran over them in midfield still, because they couldn't have handled the aggression and the energy that was coming from Tonali and Bruno and Joe Linton. The three of them together. Wow. I mean, this is no knock to Longstaff or Willock, but honestly, if them three keep playing like that, we've got Manchester City and Liverpool in the next two games. And if these three dominate those two games like that, which I think City would be a challenge, but if they dominate those two games like that, I can't see Willock or Longstaff getting back to side. I'm sorry, I really can't.
It's harsh, and considering how good they were last season. But they're gonna be rotated. You're gonna have cup games. You're gonna have the European games,
course,
and things like that. So they will get their chances to play. But look, that as a midfield trio, and especially when you've got City coming up, who I think they can battle against, and especially if De Bruyne is not fit. I think that'd be huge for them.
Yeah, that's
I know they've
big
got
part of their game
coming from all over to, that they'll. It doesn't matter who they play; they're going to play well. But I think that midfield trio will run them. They're certainly much more combative, I think, than that midfield for City. The Liverpool midfield, to go on to the following week, Szoboszlai I thought looked good. There were flashes that he looked very good. And it's
some little bits of play, wasn't it? You thought, oh, hang on a minute, yeah, there's the player.
Again, there was maybe an element that he's not been there long enough, and I think that's one of the differences. You mentioned Bruno being drip fed in. Tonali's had a full preseason. He's played. He's been in training right from the beginning, whereas Bruno didn't have that luxury. So I think Eddie's got him up to speed in that. I think you look at Szoboszlai, I think there's an element that he's not quite there because he hasn't quite had as long. But Newcastle should overrun that midfield easily. I mean, they're going to run out because Klopp can't buy a midfielder at the moment because they keep going to Chelsea.
Oh, I love that.
Hilarious.
I do. I love that so much. Yeah, I had to do a couple of mischievous tweets from the Evermore X account or post, or whatever I call it. We're just down there if you want to give us a follow. But yeah, I'd love the fact that Klopp's getting binned off by all these defensive midfielders, and it doesn't matter how much money that he wants to spend on that little ceiling that he's got, which gets bigger and bigger every single week. Nobody wants to come, and we went and signed a kid half the price of these players you're trying to sign, and he looks twice the player. And I'm so excited to see what he can do, Mark, in the Premier League. I mean, the next two fixtures back to back, as much as Liverpool, I suppose, an evolving team now because they've got rid of a lot of players and they've got to bed in, and they're very good players like some McAllister and Szoboszlai and guys like that. And I think there will be very good players for Liverpool, but they're trying to find their way into that Liverpool team and system and setup and everything else. For me, if we can get a result against City, and if we can beat Liverpool at home, my God, I hope we do, because I'd love to smash that turkey teeth bastard right back down the road to Liverpool. If we can get a result against them two teams and play with that panache that we've played with at the weekend, people are going to be really scared of what Newcastle United are capable of this season, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on a separate, you don't like Jurgen, do you?
No, well, I used to until he got his eyes fixed. I think when he got rid of his glasses, he became just a monumental bellend, didn't he, really? And we've said that on numerous occasions. But I don't like the disrespect he shows teams. I think I said that in the rant video. If you haven't watched it, guys, go watch it, just not around your children, because I think I've given Roy Chubby Brown a run for his money in the F-bomb category. But I just don't like the disrespect and the patronising tone that he portrays, not just towards Newcastle. There's been loads of other teams he's done this to, and I think he's out of order. I really do. I mean, you had a great idea for what to do with Mad Dog, mate. Share your idea, because I really hope Eddie does this, because it would be the best thing ever if he does do this.
Yeah, I just said yesterday, didn't I? I just said, do you know, if I was Eddie Howe, I would stand Mad Dog in the technical area, staring at Jurgen Klopp for the first 45 minutes, and just leave him there. Just let the game run on. And just let him stare at Klopp for that entire time. Just wind him up. Smiling with that Mad Dog smile of his, that glint absolutely
smile.
Right.
And he'll say, Jurgen, I didn't have to go to Turkey for my teeth, mate. They're just natural, and they just fucking piss them off even more. So, yeah, absolutely. But that would be great to see. But they will have a plan, because I'm pretty sure Tyndall doesn't seem to be the kind of guy to take that lightly. He will certainly have some kind of a plan, I think, to be honest with you. So, yeah, which would be absolutely spot on. And yeah, the Dirty Dozen said he loved the F-bomb ticker. I think Mark did think about bleeping some of them to start with, then he just gave up, to be fair. And he just said, oh, well, fuck it.
I think
is what he said.
I think at one point I edited it twice. And the first point I bleeped the first three because I lost count, to be honest with you, at first.
Yeah.
And then by the fourth one, I put a little emoji or a little picture underneath of a computer blowing up. I just couldn't keep up with it. And I thought, oh, do you know what? Sorry, I'm just going to put an F-bomb count in, just because, one, it's funny, and two, actually it keeps me right, because I need to count them up. It was 18 in the end, Roger.
Yeah, I seen Rogers comment. Yeah, I think it was 18 in the end, mate, to be honest with you. But see, Ian's getting in the action as well. There you go. He's chucking left bomb.
19.
It's contagious. He is disrespectful, absolutely. You're coming there from Graham, good man, Graham. I met Graham. How you doing, mate? Good for tuning in. Next two games, better two draws or win. One loss. Well, my prediction: Klopp not here this time next year. Do you know what? It's a good shout, Graham, because we were saying that he's trying to deflect the fact that he's under pressure. Putting himself under so much pressure, as you say, and I believe he doesn't know what to do about it. I think we're a real problem for him, and Eddie Howe's a real problem for him, because suddenly the spotlight's on this bright, articulate manager that plays this pressing game that he used to play when he came over here. And I think there's an element of the green-eyed monster with Klopp, because he's thinking about the project and what Eddie Howe, maybe the resources that are available to him. But then Liverpool are spending even more money than we are, but then they're not spending in the right way. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that, and what I love about Eddie Howe, and he's got a touch of the Bobby Robsons about him in this, he's just so classy and articulate, Mark, isn't he? Every time he responds to some of these stupid golden comments, he just does it with such class, and I think it's the kind of class that Jurgen Klopp can't afford to buy, but he's got 115 million quid to spend a midfielder on that, mate.
No, you bang on it. Look, you bang on about Eddie Howe, because it's even like from if you go from opposition fans' perspectives, it's hard to dislike him, because he is so well spoken. He's posh or anything, but he comes across really well. He explains really well. He gives everybody the time of day. He's not aggressive. He's not surly. He doesn't look down on anybody. He's not, he doesn't throw people out for asking questions of him. Steve, you could take note from that one. He's just a genuinely decent bloke. And to top it off, he's just a brilliant football manager as well. So, you're right in that to Bobby, because I think there's a lot of him in there. In terms of just how well he treats people.
Yeah.
He may never get to that level. I mean, you hope he does, because he'd be sensational, and he's got tons of years ahead of him. But it's just the way that he reacts to people, and the way he treats people it is so reminiscent of Bobby, because Bobby would do that for everybody. And it's just the right way to do it, isn't it? I mean, you can be a man manager, and you can be aggressive and shouty and really bullish and things, but there's a time and place for it. When you're dealing with your fans, when you're dealing with the journalists, things like that, that's not the time for it. When there's a focus for you to be that role model, Klopp's lost that. He used to have it. He used to be brilliant, but he's lost it. And I think you're right. The pressure is huge on him.
Yeah, as I said in the video, you should be more worried about Mo Salah's reaction when he took him off than anything else. But the comment there from T-Dog, thank you very much, T-Dog. Lovely for you to say, mate. Yeah, we're really buzzing. The channel's growing so much at the minute, and massive thanks to everybody who's clicking that button. But a huge thanks to all you guys who've been around for a long time and supporting us, right from the start. We're not even 2 years old yet, so we're babies in the YouTube world. We're not two until December, Marco. So we're still little babbies, but we're having a real good time of this. And thanks to you guys for your love and support all the way through. It's really helped this be really enjoyable for us as well. So
absolutely right. And as T-Dog says, please drop a like on the video as well. I know there's over 100 in. I think we've got about 40 likes at the moment. So everybody drop a like on, please. It helps get it around YouTube, helps bring more people to the chat and grows the community as well. And you guys have been absolutely phenomenal. So, we can't thank you enough for being on part of this journey with us.
Yeah, that deserves a Callum Wilson salute, does that? I think more Callum Wilson salute. I'm not as handsome as he is, but I'll still do it. So yeah, moving on to the next category then. Obviously we're buzzing at the weekend. I still think we need 2 more players. There has been some transfer links recently. It's all about defensive links. We've got a few rumour hazard videos flying up, but one of them flew back out earlier. Now the difference between the initial link with this player to the links that are coming out now. The initial links to these players seem to come from the NUFC blog site, who do a great job, by the way. I've read that for years. Great guys who do some great work there. But we were linked to Lewis Hall, and I was buzzing about it. We did a rumour hazard video. I was waxing lyrical about the kicks. I think he's a real top player, and he's 18 years old, and he's got so many good attributes now. And I think if a manager like Eddie Howe can get a hold of him, wow, what could he do with him? In the next 2 or 3 seasons. The Lewis Hall links have come back out because apparently he was due to sign a new long-term deal with Chelsea, and he was going to go on loan at Palace. But apparently the story goes that Newcastle are willing to buy him for 30 million quid, and that's changed the game. And apparently Lewis Hall is now not going to sign his contract because, we talked about this when we did the rumour hazard video, that there's links to his family. I think his grandparents are Geordies, or his parents are Geordies. His brother's definitely a mad Geordie because he's already tweeted about that before. Lewis himself might have an affection to the club. Mark, top player. A lot of big journalists are talking about this, even like Craig Cope, people are now starting to give this a little bit of credence. Is there something in this one, do you think, mate?
Who knows? I'll sit on the fence. Who knows?
Give up guessing. Get a splinter out your ass. What you like?
I think for a player like that, he definitely fits that mold, doesn't he? He definitely fits the way that Newcastle have approached the transfer window. Look at the opposite side of the field with Livramento. It's a young player that's got massive amounts of potential ahead of him. And look, he's looked very, very, very good when he's played for Chelsea. Whether that's been left-sided, he can play further forward too. So look, I think he'd be ideal. Come in, maybe he's not start straight away like Livramento, come in and sit behind Dan Burn for a little bit. But I think he's the ultimate successor for that left-hand side berth, and then that allows Burn to then become the backup in that area and also a centre-back as well.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some links to centre-backs as well. I mean, we're going to do a few players in the rumour hazard ones. One in particular that I think is an unbelievable player, and I think Newcastle should break the bank to get him. He's only 19 years old. Give you a little bit of a slight hint as to who it is, and I think him and Botman could be a better centre-back pairing than Vidic and Ferdinand for years to come in the Premier League if we were to get him. But I think the issue is that we're under the microscope with FFP. We know this. Darren Eales has been quite open and honest about this, and he's said this on numerous occasions. And I think with the scrutiny and the spotlight, and even Klopp's comments and the chuckles from the journalists in the room, there's definitely an anti-Newcastle agenda in the background here. We talked about it, we ranted about what the Newcastle executive said when they went to the boardroom and they spoke to the Athletic and they refused to shake their hand. There's definitely an underlying tone to what you would call the greedy six, not liking what Newcastle are doing. And I think they make it difficult to do business with Newcastle. I've seen Wilson in the first episode of We Are United, fantastic documentary. Big shout out to our own Simon who rocked up in one of the episodes as well. Bless her, she was all nervous about it, but she did a great job. But there was even talking that I think their dad said, there seems to be a price, and then there's a Newcastle price. So it definitely is happening. But this thing with Lewis Hall could be accelerated, Mark, with Chelsea dropping more big money on players because they have to balance their books as well. Because without qualifying for the Champions League last season, there's a big hole in their finances, and then I think they're going to close this loophole, aren't they? Of this, buy now, pay 9 years later kind of thing that Chelsea have been doing and getting these big players with it all.
They've already done it. They're giving out big contracts now, but the amount that they spread the amortization of the transfer fee, it can only be up to 5 years. So they can give an 8-year contract, but the actual fee itself is only over the maximum of 5. I saw our favourite station, TalkSport, earlier. There was a bit from Simon Jordan about how
you're going to have to go on that if they ask us, mate. I don't think they'll let me on, to be honest with you. So.
The amount I've slagged off Gabby Agbonlahor, I don't think they'd let me anywhere near it. But I think the what Jordan was saying is he sort of worked out that they were 65 million in the black, not in the red, because of the way that it worked. Yeah, so
is that including the deals they've just done now, though?
I think so. Yes, whether it might not be with the Caicedo deal, but certainly up to the point that I'd seen. Obviously, the amount of money they brought in for the likes of Mason Mount, who've come through the academy, so it cost them nothing, and they get cash in for that. I think Havertz, I think they end up on the balance sheet, they make money on him because of how much it costs them per year for him. So I think they made something like 15, 20 million for him.
Shez is just saying that as well. I think 62 million in profit.
A lot of that, their
contracts, and the
but
sales.
They've now, like we said, that they've now closed that loophole UEFA, so you can only do it over 5 years. But even then, because you can spread that fee out over time, it makes it easy. Because then if you bring in 30 million, say for Hall, that's potentially 30 million cash. A little bit like with the St. Maximin deal
and the Gordon thing and the documentary.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not 40 million straight out the door now. It's 40 million spread out. But if you can bring in a player, or you can sell a player and bring the cash in, like St. Maximin, that's money straight in, and it's not spread out over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 23 likes, I think, Stephen saying, come on, people, the cost now. Well, if that is true, come on, guys, like the video. We'd love you to like the videos. 131 of you here, so give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. The Predator's saying the loan with either obligation to buy might be what they look at. And I think that's what they're looking at, apparently, for, there's obviously a couple of experienced players, which is Tierney and Cucurella. There's a video coming out tomorrow, guys, with the stats. So check that one out on the channel. That should be our first thing in the morning. But I think, from what I was reading, what I was hearing, I think Keith Downey, who's been on our channel before as well, great guy, Keith, I think he was saying it's looking more likely that the left back is what will come in and not the centre half. And I think what you were saying there about Dan Burn, Mark, as well, is true, that Dan Burn and Emil Kraft coming back too, people forget that he can play centre half and he's got a bit of speed as Emil Kraft. I know we're talking about lack of pace at the back. Kraft can fill in a right back or centre half, and he's right-footed. So maybe what they're thinking is, if we've got an opportunity to get a proper left back in, because Dan Burn is not a proper left back. We've said that so many times. He's done a great job there, but he's not a proper left back. If you can get a Lewis Hall in with that pace and that ability to get up the park and put crosses in, or a Tierney or a Cucurella, you've got a proper left back there who can give you an attacking threat, who can overlap Gordon or Barnes and be something different than what Dan Burn is. And maybe Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth are looking at that thinking, actually, that's the one we need, not the centre half. We can get cover there in amongst the squad. And I don't rate Lascelles. I don't think he's certainly our Champions League quality, but for the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup and maybe some Premier League games, he might do a job. So maybe they're just thinking left back is the spot, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems the much more logical one. If there is a left back to come in, I think that spells the absolute end for Matty Targett, really. He's not going to play an awful lot of games. He's been
poor pre-season as well, mate. He's been really poor.
I think, again, part of is when he's on loan, he had some good games, but he spent much of last season either out injured or just couldn't get in past a makeshift left back. And Dan Burn was so good. But you would expect your regular left back to be able to
get back
push out somebody who is playing there on essentially a part-time basis. And he's just not done it. He's not looked good enough. I think pre-season was an eye-opener, I think, because he just didn't look good enough. So I think if you do bring in a Lewis Hall or a Cucurella or a Tierney, then I think Targett is for the exit, and I think that will probably come January or next summer at the latest.
Yeah. Predator agrees with you. They should sell Targett, and Cucurella is a no for him. Obviously, I won't ruin what I said in the video, but we're not too dissimilar there. Predator, I think, in all fairness, mate. So let's get to the chopper. I think we're not on dissimilar wavelengths there, mate. What we've got to do, it doesn't say better to be patient now. Get that, better to be patient. Don't rush into stuff. Ian's talking about your mate. He can't wait for Gabriel Bonglahor back and talk shite. He spews some shite. Bites him back every time. So it's great. Last time I saw Gabby talking about Newcastle, he was actually quite complimentary. I think maybe he's learned a lesson that Newcastle are a lot better than he thinks they were. But I think he just does it for effect. I think that it's the Katie Hopkins syndrome, and a lot of these radio hosts are doing that. And a lot of the YouTubers do it as well. They just say stuff to get reactions, don't they? And they do, and inevitably they do get reactions. People rant and rave about it, really, mate. So, but yeah, Shez just saying one
says
thing.
Says the man with the F-bomb count in his video of the day.
But that's a reaction, though. That's not to get a I'm giving him their reaction. I'm playing into the hands, mate, aren't I? So yeah, don't make me start again. I don't want to get to the 20 mark on the F-bomb count. Shez is saying he doesn't understand the target situation. He didn't become poor overnight, but being out for a year, it's hard to come back. I can't see why it can't have worked. He can't have worked on this for this season. It's a weird one, isn't it, mate? What do you think it is with target mark? Do you think the team has just evolved a bit beyond what it was when he first came? Yep. And he's maybe struggling to keep up with the pace of what the team's all about now, do you think?
I just think he was at a good level for when he came in, for the way that it went that season, and when he was on loan, they played at the level he was at, and they've taken several steps beyond what Matty Targett can actually provide you. He was hit and miss before. He was hit and miss at Villa. He's been hit and miss at Newcastle. There's a level to him, and I think he's one that is found that he can't keep up with the level that Newcastle have got to. He's a victim of that, because you're right, on loan he was very, very good, and there's a reason why then he came in. But he's just not been able to take that step up. He's not reacted in the same way that some of the other players have. He's not. I don't know whether it's just he just can't. Potentially, he just can't improve to a point where he can push Dan Burn aside and become that regular star, because that's essentially what he should be.
Yeah, he should be. Just a comment from Zara there. A couple of guys have mentioned it. That Fraser is part of the way. He's been linked heavily to Celtic. He's been training with the development squad, and Richie and Dunn will be away at the end of the season. I think they did sign extensions, but they were only 1 year extensions. And I think Zara was saying another comment below. I think, but talking to the guys in the chat, that I think that Richie and Dummett were only really signed up for. I mean, Dummett's a homegrown element, I think, as well, which obviously fills a gap for the Champions League requirement. And I think, Richie's that kind of character, isn't he, behind the scenes, a bit like that coach who's a player. It probably helps bridge the gap from Eddie Howe to the players, having a player like Richie to relay his messages on and everything else. But I do think that both of those guys would be gone. And I'd actually be quite shocked as well, Mark, if they don't end up in a coaching capacity at the club. Certainly Dummett. I could see Dummett becoming academy coach or something like that, and continuing his career with Newcastle, but as a coach.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on whether he thinks he's got another couple of years left of playing. If he does, then he'll go away for a couple of years and then come back. But if he feels the time is right, and he's barely played any football over recent years, has he? And I think if he's very much a bit part, I'll come in when absolutely needed, but he fills the squad. It's almost like, it's probably a bit harsh to throw, but it's almost like the Scott Carson thing at Man City. Well, he's purely been signed as a quota thing. He's never, ever going to play.
Scott Carson is the Uncle Albert of the Man City squad. And he's just like, what's he even there for? During the war, he's like,
I'll go and do it. I mean, Christ, I can't do a worse job than Scott Carson, can I? He doesn't play. I was
going to say, right? Honestly, that he's just. I've never seen. He's got the best job in football, Scott Carson. He really has, mate. But there was a comment up there about another one about our mate where I took the piss in the intro for Kev, Daniel Sturridge, where he said "ooh la la" about Tonali, and even the presenter went, "He's not French, mate." Just watching Roy Keane's face. Roy Keane was like everybody who's over 38 years old. Just we were doing the same reaction every time Sturridge opened his mouth. He was just like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" I'm so glad I'm not paying 100 odd quid a month for fucking Sky Sports and listening to that bollocks. Honestly, what was that about, mate? I just get the feeling that Sky are going a bit too young. I think younger crowd. There's still different demographics that watch Sky. I'm not saying you have to bring back miserable old twats like Souness. You know what I mean? But have a happy medium somewhere in the middle market. The guy was doing the stanky leg dance, for fuck's sake, on the side of the park. You know what I mean? It's not Strictly, mate. It's fucking Super Sunday. What's going on there?
It's one of those
I know
things.
you liked them, mate, but it did my fucking head, to be honest with
I'm
you.
not saying I liked it. It's just a different. It's just a change, and I think we've been so used to the shite that we get from the likes of Souness and Redknapp and Expo. It's so dry, it's so dull. There is something different, and he's gonna wind people up, isn't it? Because people aren't gonna like it. But then people didn't like Micah Richards at first. They thought he was too much.
True. Big
but then
Meeks.
most people do now like Micah. Micah, however I'm pronouncing it today. So like, it was his first time. Maybe he's just a little bit too over the top for it.
Yeah, possibly.
But he wasn't too bad. But yeah,
when he spoke about football, it was actually really good. It was all the bollocks in between.
And this is it. So it's all this kind of thing. I mean, the singing Usher. I mean, to be fair, he's got a canny voice on him.
Good voice, absolutely, yeah.
Maybe it's the football show isn't the best place to be singing. I mean, get yourself on The Voice or something. Do you know what I mean?
I was waiting for Roy Keane to just give him one of them deathly stares and go, "You're 33." Just fucking stare at him and tell him that. But we're coming there from Weird TV. Is that no? Great name, that, mate. Just watch Man United being outplayed by Wolves. They certainly were from what I saw, mate. And yesterday, Chelsea and Liverpool were pathetic. Yeah, the crappy overpaid pundits are telling me that they're going to finish above us. No way. I do agree with you, mate. We were saying that after we battered Villa. You know, all these people saying Villa were going to finish above us. And now people like Carragher are reversing and rubbing out what they said and putting in some new predictions for Newcastle, mate. So I think, as always, we'll shove it right up their fucking faces, I think, mate, and prove them wrong. Is that another one, Mark? Is it? He's 19. That's about 23 now. Bob count tonight. I think
we're up to 21 now.
Yeah, I'm going to get a Hail Mary, I think, mate. Absolutely. I'm going to get a Hail Mary. So, New Monkeys in the comments. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, Sandro Tonali, the Moretti effect. Absolutely. I must admit, go back to the Klopp rant a little bit. I'm really hoping in the lead up to the Liverpool game that we can get some kind of a chant brewing where people just sing Klopp's a wanker, Turkish teeth, Klopp's a wanker, Turkish teeth. I want the whole of St James's Park to sing that. I might even put a little message out there to PK, who's connected, and see if we can mention the war flags, and then maybe they can do a Klopp's a wanker, Turkish teeth war flag. Just imagine it just coming up the Gallagher with just this big fucking teeth. Just this massive dish with this huge piano key grin. I think that would be perfect for when we're playing Liverpool.
Oh, man.
Smash his teeth in. They can put on the flag. Yeah, if you're watching War Flags, get on it. It's a great idea. Right, we're going to ramble on all night here. Let's finish off with Out of Tune, which is the category where we talk about things that aren't necessarily Newcastle related. And I mean, there's no better place to start, Mark, is there? Another superstar is heading over to Saudi Arabia for mega money. And it is the proverbial shithouse himself that my father hates, because when he played Celtic, he rolled so much. I think he covered the whole pitch rolling, holding his knee. And that is Neymar Jr. is heading over to, is it Maxi's team? Is it Al Hilal? Is it the same team Maxi's at?
Al Hilal.
I think it is, isn't it?
Oh, do you know? I'm going to have to look that one up.
You have to Google it.
I'm sure.
There's that many players going there, mate. You should know this. You're the stat man. I'm sure it is Al Hilal.
No, he went to Al Ali.
Al Ali, God, that was something.
Yeah.
So who's Al Hilal? Who plays there? Somebody went there? Another big player went there, didn't they? Tell us in the comments, guys. What are the big players that went to Al Hilal? Who was there?
Sorry, I'm just looking up there. They got a squad.
Who they got?
The only one I can see in that, Neymar's obviously in. Malcolm is another one who's.
Oh, it might have been Malcolm then. It might have been Malcolm.
He's the one that he used to play for Monaco. They've got Koulibaly as well at the back. Ruben Neves is the one I think you were thinking of.
That's it, Neves, yeah.
Milinkovic-Savic as well.
That's the one. I knew there was a couple of big names that went there. I knew there was. So I'm just laughing at Would-Be Farmer's comment. Thank you, Would-Be Farmer. I think that's a great way to measure somebody's integrity for how many times they say the F word, mate. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, so, some of the news about how much he's going to get paid, Mark. Tell us a bit about this. This is unbelievable.
I mean, yeah, £2.5 million a week to play football. I mean, is just.
That's nuts,
utter madness. With the ability to get 50% of your wages paid up front if you want it. I mean, I want this deal. But Yeah,
Oof,
extra
look at
benefits. A
that as
private
well.
jet, allowed to live with his partner even if they're not married. A huge new home with staff. With staff. I mean, not only are you getting paid £2.5 million a week, but then you get staff provided for you. 80 grand for each win, and $500,000 or euros, sorry, for each story or post that promotes Saudi.
That's mad, that, isn't it?
Holy-
Can we just get like 500 quid for mentioning Saudi on the
Well,
podcast?
I
That could
said
be
to you
quite a good
earlier
way
on,
to
I says,
increase revenue.
for one of us, I'll take 5 grand. We'll knock a few zeros off. But there was a slight caveat to this, because L'Equipe put this out earlier on as well, that the transfer was done. Ultimately, Neymar wants to go back to Barcelona, and this was seen as a two-year deal where he could go there and then go back to Barcelona and get ready for the World Cup. So this is a roundabout way, and I guess it's one of those things where some of these players, where they want to go somewhere, they might use Saudi for a season, for a little while, to get to ultimately where they want to go for nothing, because they can write off 200 million quid in 2 seasons and not notice it. And there's no FFP for them to worry about.
It's a good point by Kev. Then everyone else's field their pinch. It's a different world, isn't it? It really, unbelievable. As crazy cash the Saudi League spent. I totally agree with that one. Made absolutely crazy, as Roger says there. Els, who's late to the party, all right? How you doing? Not a problem at all. You go back.
Don't worry about being late.
Not a problem at all. But it's I mean, it just goes to show you how serious they are about getting these star players. It doesn't matter if they're kind of coming to the twilight years of their career. Messi going to America and stuff like that. These things are going to be in the past now. Saudi's going to be after all these big name players who are on the wrong side of 30 because they think, they're big players. We can get the league started, and hopefully they're going to hope that these guys will encourage younger players to come and join their academies and everything else. Then they'll grow, the stars of tomorrow. But it'll be interesting to see the longevity of the Saudi League, whether it pops in a year or two or not. And these guys all just scutter out across Europe with their bags of cash. But I mean, the amount of wealth that's behind Saudi Arabian sports. You look at the golf. They're not going to give it up easy, are they? To be fair, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But speaking of another big name player who has eventually disappeared off the foreign shores is Harry Kane, who obviously went to Bayern Munich. Alan Shearer is still buzzing about this. He left. Harry left on was it 213 goals? I think it was. He was 40 odd short of Alan's record. Interestingly enough, he was obviously talking, to the press when he was over in Germany, and he did make his debut in the Super Cup. We'll tell you that, and what happened to that in a minute. But he was talking, about obviously going over there, and it was a challenge, and time of his career, Champions League, everything else. But there was a couple of little things he threw in there, Mark, when he just said, you never know what the future holds. I'm still only 30. People are going to talk about Shearer. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to come over here and play my football for the next few years, develop my game, and who knows what will happen after that. So, do you think in Harry's mind he's thinking, I'll go over to Germany for a year or two, win the Bundesliga, win some cups, maybe win a Champions League, play in a different country, different style, all that kind of stuff. Are you thinking Harry's thinking of coming back when he's 32, going on 33 and try and have another pop of this record, mate?
I mean, realistically, what does he need? 3 seasons?
40
3 seasons to score 40-odd goals is doable. So he goes and spends 2 seasons in the Bundesliga with Bayern. He's going to play Champions League football. He's going to win stuff. I mean, the biggest irony of the whole thing, the tweets that were going out saying, he spent 19 years at Spurs and won absolutely nothing, and he could turn up at Bayern on his first day and win a cup for them to promptly get stuffed 3-0.
To which point in his defence he was not on the pitch when it happened. Comfortably getting humped before he came on the pitch, mate.
But it was the most peak Spurs thing ever, really, wasn't it? I mean, for your player to go and win a cup and not win it. The biggest irony of the whole thing will be when Dortmund win the league this season as well. So that would just be hilarious. But there's still time for him. He could go and spend 2 years in Germany, win a load of stuff, get that on his CV, come back and score 15 goals a season, and take the the Premier League goal
Take the
scoring record.
Yeah. Just hopefully for him, Haaland's not up to like 205 by the time he comes back.
He'll have won it in 2 years' time.
He probably would have done. Lovely comment there from the Dirty Dozen. Thank you so much, mate. We've got Jordy's in the USA. He's spreading the word with all of his people. Fantastic, mate. Yeah. You keep that up, mate. Try and get as many subs as we can, because once we get to that 5K mark, we will be doing that video where everyone can comment and get a chance to win that brilliant signed photograph of Alan Shearer, his last ever competitive goal. So it's well worth doing that, guys. Absolutely. But yeah, going back to Kane, you're obviously comfortably battered in his debut. God bless him. I'm sure he will do really well for them. But there was a great clip, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, where I think he came when it was 2-0, and then somebody gave a penalty away, and the players were surrounding the ref. And Harry Kane just did what Harry Kane did. He went to get involved, and he goes to speak, and then realizes in that little moment, I don't speak German, and he just completely stops talking before any sound even comes out of his mouth. He just goes, ha. He just stops completely because he thinks, what the fuck am I going to say? And then he just stands there and looks at everyone as if like, I've got no idea what any of you guys are saying. So I thought that was quite humorous to me.
Well, I think he'll be the type of player that goes and tries to fit in as well. So I think he'll not understand him anyway, but he'll try and learn the language. But it's I'm dying to see what he does out there. I really am, because he's such a prolific goal scorer, and I do think he gets an awful lot of crap for people saying he's not as good as people think he is. I think he's an exceptional striker.
That's a great comment. Yeah, the ref couldn't speak. I don't know what you're saying, man. I have fucking clue what you're saying. So yeah, you're right, mate. But no, he is a good footballer. I say credit to him. It's a brave move. It really is. I think a lot more players should do it. If you think about the amount of British players who went abroad and were successful, there's probably been nowhere near enough of them. You look at the likes of Gerrard, Lampard. They should have played abroad. They should have went to La Liga or Germany or something, had a go at it. You know what I mean? But they're obviously too intrinsically woven at clubs, especially in Gerrard's case. He could have went to Real Madrid or Barca or anything, really. Do you know what I mean? So I bet he regrets that, because he would have been absolutely laden with trophies at the end of his career had he done that. I know he won quite a lot at Liverpool, but it is kind of one of those things anyway. But just to finish, mate, before we're on too long. So the last thing we want to talk about now, Toon, is it kind of does link to Newcastle. So everyone's aware of the touchline ban. We talked about it earlier about old Clippity Klopp having a problem with Jason Tyndall, just because he's got pure teeth envy that Mad Dog's teeth are legit and Klopp's teeth are Turkish shit. But the touchline ban is obviously well in effect. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like the same rules apply to Mikel Arteta and his number 2, mate, because they were in the box at the same time. Now, in that picture, Arteta is outside of the box, right? But I think about a minute or so, or 5 minutes before that, in the 92nd minute of that game against Nottingham Forest, that Arsenal weren't great at, to be honest with you. They were both in the box at the same time. And how the hell does that work?
And nothing's done. Yeah. So
done.
You wanted, like I said before, with the yellow cards for the request and yellows for others for going up to the referee I can't think of the words right. My brain's not working. It's too late. But like Botman going up to the referee and things like that. That's exactly what you want to see. You want the referee. You want the managers getting any sort of aggressive or sort of natured acts or anything like that. But that has to happen. If you're going to put a rule in where only one person can be in the technical area, what the hell's the fourth official doing? He stood right next to them. So it's like they said, it should be an instant yellow card. Regardless.
If that's right, what Kev's saying, there was 3 of them in the box. I mean, that's even worse. I mean, like you say, we're reliant on the fourth official, having eagle eyes really to stop these people doing it. But it'll be interesting to see how eagle-eyed they are for Jason Tyndall and Eddie Howe at the weekend. I mean, obviously, it didn't matter in the Villa game. I didn't see us get stopped once on the sideline, when it came to that. So maybe the lads have got it all cracked. You know what I mean? And there's no worry there.
I did spend a stupid amount of time actually watching them on the sideline and not watching the game, because I found myself watching the pair of them, and they've got this sort of this almost synchronized crossover on the line to the technical area. And it was so funny to watch because you could just see one walking out and the other one just started to walk back. So I did think it was quite funny. And in a game that was that entertaining, I did find myself watching them far too much.
Watching them in the box, yeah. Well, as Jack's saying there that they were in the box a couple of times and nobody really seemed too arsed about it, really. So maybe it's all much ado about nothing. The new monkey says it only applies to Newcastle, as there's Predator rules for thee and not for me. And Zara's right; it's a fucking stupid rule.
Completely agree with that.
I totally agree with that, Zara.
Stupid rule.
What I would do is just paint a little square and have Mad Dog on it, like a Harley Davidson sign, just Mad Dog, and then just get him a stand in the box and just be like that, next to Eddie Howe, and just say, well, that's Jason's spot, isn't it? It's not technically that's the Mad Dog spot. That's what we did for him, and then that'll be it, and then they won't have a fucking leg to stand on, really, will they, mate? So yeah, I think that would be fantastic. But I think that's a good way to end it, mate. We've been on for quite a while now. Thank you so much to all you wonderful people in the comments. It really helps the episode flow. We love having a chat with you guys. You guys are the stars of the show. We're just here having a chat in the background. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed already and you're new in the chat, why not consider it? Smash that button. Come and join us. Help get us to 5K. We're going to be back with some more Newcastle United content as soon as we say there's some transfer rumor videos over the next couple of days. Make sure you tune in on Thursday as well. All of you fans of the See You Next Tuesday series, we've flipped it on its head and it's now Throwback Thursdays, a walk down memory lane of the good times in Newcastle United's past. And I've recorded a couple of videos and already I'm smiling because there were absolutely brilliant memories to talk about. So make sure you check that series out, guys. Well worth looking at it. And we'll have match previews for the City game and a post-match reaction, hopefully, as well on Saturday. Until then, everyone, have a cracking evening. Get yourself to bed and we'll catch you later.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.